maybe multiple choice, true, false, not given, sentence completion, and those are my 3 things for that text, then in that case, I'll probably skim first. So I'll really quickly read through the topic sentences in the text, and then I'll use the questions. So I'll go from questions to text. But other question types, headings match, information match the other way. Is that a confusing answer? Let me see. Okay, sorry guys, chat box is flying. I don't have a helper with me today. Okay. I'm just scrolling backwards. Sorry, the dead air here. Thank you. Multiple choice. By the way, in tonight's reading class, the focus is true, false, not given. No, hang on, tonight. No, next week. Next Tuesday, the reading class, true, false, not given. Alpesh Kumar, what's the best way to practice reading and listening for the computer-based test? Yes, so in your course, all the listening tests in the practice test section are computer-based format, computer-delivered format, and the mock test as well on E2 language is a full test in computer-delivered format, because it actually is quite difficult to find a full test in the computer-delivered format. The Ielts official website has some sample questions, but they don't have a full test available there. So look at the practice tests. The computer-delivered test is really easy to follow the instructions and really easy to use. So don't worry about that. Even if you haven't practiced before test day, I think that you won't have any trouble with that. Okay, I'll just answer a couple more on reading and listening here. And thank you for those who are also answering the questions. Kalpana, there's one free reading test inside your course on E2 language. So you can take that one. If you're a paid member, there are 4 practice tests. Computer-based test Aziz, can we write all in capitals? No, it's not recommended. There is mixed information on that, but we were told by Ielts that you should not write in all capitals in the computer-delivered test. So on the paper-delivered test, that's okay because that's a handwriting style, but computer-delivered test, there's no reason to be typing in all capitals. Hi, Yam. Okay, let me come to that question a little bit later in the writing section. How to read effectively and in less time. You guys can probably answer that. I think I answered it before a little bit, but definitely practice, Puneet, and practice with awareness of bad habits. So try not to reread text over and over. Try to read once and grab the meaning. So for me, when I'm doing the IELTS test, I read in a completely different way to when I'm just reading for fun or, you know, reading the Facebook or the newspaper online. Reading for IELTS, I'm 100% switched on and focused and I'm concentrating. And in my mind, while I'm reading the text, I'm very animated, very dramatic. So every word I see, like firstly or however, I'm almost singing in my head. I'm really trying to get into the text because I want to read it just once. I don't want to read like the back to the start. So I want to read it like it's an adventure, and that really helps me concentrate. So we're losing that ability to concentrate these days. Kalpana, have a look for anything that is Cambridge for practice tests. Just Google Cambridge IELTS practice tests, and I'm sure you'll find heaps. Yes, Jay, in the computer-based test, can we increase and decrease the size of the text? You can. There are a few good features actually when you're doing the computer test. You can make it, definitely bigger or smaller. You can also change the color of the background. So it can be white or off-white or a kind of yellow color as well. You can highlight on the screen in the reading and the listening, And it's also a place for you to take notes on the screen if you want to do that. Headings match. What are my tips and tricks? I have the best strategy for headings match. You can practice it in the live class, but also have a look on our YouTube channel. Just look for E2 IELTS match headings and it will change your life. Joshua? Is daily practice of listening, reading and writing necessary? Tarane, what do you think? I would say yes, as your test is approaching. Daily practice is necessary. The more practice, the better. And practice can be, reading the newspaper, listening to a podcast, coming to a live class. It doesn't always mean just taking a practice test. Thank you, guys. Whoop. Fatima, while answering, will the passage be available or can we read only once? Great question. Yeah, in IELTS, you have the reading and the questions on the screen or on the paper together. So different to, is it TOEFL where, no, not, one of the tests, yeah, it disappears, but IELTS, it's in front of you all the time, which is good. Too bad, JD, not enough time to practice. Okay, I'll just quickly jump onto, see if anyone's got a question on Facebook. Sorry, I'm neglecting you there. Fazona's asking about accents. Should we listen to podcasts in all English accents? Really good question. Yes, so in the test, you're going to get majority of the accents will be British, but you can also hear Australian, like me, New Zealand accent, anything from the UK, American and South African is the other one. So if you can listen to all of those accents, I think that's good practice. And listening, you only get to hear once. Okay, so on Facebook, Almaz is asking about computer-delivered listening. So I would recommend go into E2 language. In fact, I'll just see if I can find an example to show you. Because I felt like that too before I did the computer-delivered test. I did so much practice paper-based. I was so worried about having to type my answers on the screen. But it was surprisingly really easy. Even in reading, which I thought would be very difficult. Yeah, it was very easy to do. When you go into your course, guys, even if you're a free member, click on your course, general or academic, whatever you are, go over here to practice tests. And the first test is available free. So if you come in here and click on listening, this is a full computer delivered listening test. And if you're a paid member, you have all 4 here as well. If you have the mock test included in your package, that is also a fully computer delivered version of the IELTS test. And yeah, the mock test has computer delivered reading. So in the reading, you have section 1 on the screen and you can scroll the text and scroll the questions and you click to go to section 2 where you can also scroll. So it's very manageable. Yeah, don't feel stressed about it. Okay, I think we're done with reading and listening. Let's talk about IELTS speaking and then we'll get to writing. I can see lots of writing questions. So IELTS speaking, 11 to 14 minutes. Speaking is one-on-one with an examiner. If you do the IELTS indicator, your one-on-one is on Zoom. There are 3 parts to the IELTS speaking test and it is marked by an examiner as well. Okay, let's see what questions have we got. How to improve speaking part 1, Aziz asks. Aziz, I'm going to give you the same advice as for listening, which is to log into your course. We have a big section on part 1 with some really useful methods. So we have these 6 methods. Go here to speaking and part 1, the interview, and watch this video on methods. I'm pretty sure this is available for free members as well. And then there is some samples and down here, practice. So you can learn the methods and then try them out here. Each of the practices has sample answers as well. And of course, while I'm here, I'll recommend Friday's speaking class, which is with Graham every Friday here. And we've got these new group classes, which are one teacher, Graham or Sasha, and 2, 3, 4, or 5 of you guys, students, practicing Ielts speaking. So there's lots of support for your speaking here. Anna asks, is speaking part 1 and 3, are they always the same? Do they change the questions? They do change the questions regularly, yes. About every 6 months, they change all of the questions. So, but an examiner has a booklet or a folder, and for part 1, there are about 20 different options, and the examiner will choose 3 of those for your test. So you won't know exactly what to expect. And then part 3 is connected to part 2. And in their book, they have about 20 of those as well. So there are fresh topics every 6 months or so. Some tips for part 2. Yeah, well, we have like 3 methods that we recommend. If you want to come along to tomorrow's free speaking sample class, sorry, here it is on the calendar. So just click register. That one's open to everyone who's on E2. We'll probably practice part 2 in that class. So I would learn the methods. So there's the PPF method, of course, the traditional method, and one that's in between. Learn them and practice, see which one suits you best. Fazlana, can we mix accents in speaking, or should we speak in one accent? Oh, you can speak however you want. I mean, you will have an accent. I have an accent. Everybody has an accent. It's not part of your score. You just want to be clear and try to use features of English like stress, intonation, connected speech. But if you have an American accent or you have a Singaporean accent, whatever that is, that's fine. And if you mix them, that's okay. I mean, an accent can be anything. Kuratulaine, I heard they changed to more abstract topics from the month of May. From what I've seen, the topics are just the same as always. I mean, different topics, but no change like that. Joshua, how to get rid of nervousness in the speaking test? Great question. I felt nervous in my test as well, which is weird. I didn't expect that, but I think you need to prepare in advance. So if you can do a lot of practice tests with somebody, even if you're just talking to your phone or the wall, just getting comfortable answering weird questions. And also you should expect that the examiner may not be very responsive, which is also weird, because when you talk to someone, you usually have some energy going back and forth, but sometimes the examiner is a closed book and they may be looking down, they may look not that happy, and you need to not let that put you off. So you are there to present your best language to this person, regardless of what they do. They may interrupt you, they may seem unfriendly, but your job is just to deliver the best answers that you can. And yeah, you're going to be nervous probably, but everybody is nervous. Just try to smile, channel your energy into enthusiasm rather than stress. Ishita, what if the question is totally out of the box? Then you just do your best to answer it. Like if I asked you, what is the meaning of life? There's no answer to that question. I wouldn't ask that as an examiner. But remember, the examiner is just interested in your language. So even if you say, wow, that's an impossible question, I have no idea how to answer that, I've never even thought about it, your examiner is just thinking, oh, very nice word order and good intonation and good structure. So it's not about answering the question, it's about using language to do something. Al Peshkuma, which answer do I need to prepare in advance? Nothing. Don't memorize anything. Definitely not. Is it okay to ask questions back to the examiners? Not really. So you don't want to ask, what do you think? Or what's your opinion? No, you can ask them, what does that word mean? Or could you ask that another way? That's okay. But no, it's not really a conversation. Is speaking also one-on-one on the computer? Sunitha asks. No, when you do the computer delivered test, so you go to a test center and you take it on the computer with a few other people, but your speaking test is still one-on-one. So before or after the test, the examiner will collect you, take you to a room, and you will talk just like in the paper delivered test. If you do the Ielts indicator test, you will do a speaking test on Zoom. Fazona, how do you avoid being overexcited in the speaking test? That's a different problem, I guess. I think probably some deep breaths there. If you're feeling agitated, you're probably going to really rush, and you don't want to do that in the speaking test. So force yourself to take a breath and to pause. Don't just machine gun words at the examiner. So try to keep control of the pace. A lot of these questions, the answer is just practice. Oh, Prince, that's great advice. Speak in front of the mirror, because when you have the ability and courage to speak in front of yourself, you can speak everywhere. That's excellent advice. I love that. Guru, do we get all the questions that are asked in the test? No, not officially, but we can find them. Tarane. Okay, Paulina, my speaking exam's on Friday, my writing is on Saturday. Should I study hard or not overwork? Great. What do you guys reckon when your test is coming up? Okay, so today's Wednesday, so you definitely work hard today. Tomorrow's Thursday. What I would probably do, if you feel like you've done enough work, if you are feeling confident, you're not going to be surprised on test day, you know what to expect, then I think you can afford to relax a little bit the day before. But personally, I would probably just read some sample writing answers. I might write them out myself or listen to a recording of myself reading an example essay, that kind of thing. So just keep the English going in and coming out for a few days before your test. If possible, try to completely remove your own language for a few days. And hopefully after IELTS, you can forget all about it. Thank you. So Naman recommends be satisfied with what you have practiced. If you overwork, you'll get confused. Okay, good. Does body language matter in the speaking test? No. Just do what makes you comfortable and whatever makes you feel relaxed. Jaslyn Kaur, can I show some samples of Band 9 writing? We've got them everywhere. So if you join our live classes, you'll see some in there. Let me just show you. So by the way, last night I shared a paragraph on our Facebook from Devyani last night. I'm not sure if she's here, but have a look at that on our E2 IELTS Facebook group. Just a really great bit of writing by one of our students. So if you want to see sample essays on the platform, go into your course here, go into writing task 2. You'll see all the different question types here, and there are samples in each section. So there's a video, a method, an activity, a sample, practice sample for each one. And the other good place is in the vocab section, click on the topic toolkits. There are 20 topic toolkits organized by theme. So from animals all the way down to work. And each one contains, I'll show you the animals one. Each one has a beautiful sample essay in it. So animals has essay topics about animals, speaking questions. This is the best thing, resources. So read something, listen to something, watch something. Here is a gorgeous essay all about zoos and a list of vocab. So there are 20 of those inside your course. Okay. Let me see. Okay, Naveen is asking how to develop idiomatic language naturally and accurately. Okay, so for that, I think listening to native speakers is really the key there. So watching TV, watching TED Talks, listening to podcasts, you'll hear the type of language that is repeated. I wouldn't necessarily recommend just learning idioms for no reason. But if you hear some things repeated, that is a good idea. How to use less common and idiomatic vocab skillfully with occasional inaccuracies. So from the band descriptors, I see you're asking that. That one, I think you're going to need feedback. So you can record yourself answering questions, maybe with a topic toolkit in front of you, like a list of words, and you can practice incorporating that language into your speech and listen back. Sort of depends on your level, Naveen, if you can hear the inaccuracy yourself, or you may need somebody to help you, someone to tell you actually that word was not quite right there. And a question about the range of pronunciation features. So in the band descriptors, it talks about using a range of features. So what those are things like word stress and sentence stress. So, you know, in English, we stress some parts of the sentence, some words are stronger. Connected speech is another pronunciation feature. So, for example, I can't think of a single sentence, but we use it all the time. I watched it. So 3 words. I watched it. But watched it, we should link together with connected speech. I watched it. I watched it. That's connected speech. Intonation is a pronunciation feature. Chunking is a pronunciation feature. I would recommend to you, I'm going to type it into the chat box, even though it's from our PTE course, there's a great series of videos and we share them in your speaking feedback sometimes. It's called PTE Speaking Science on YouTube. E2 PTE Speaking Science. You'll see videos all about those things, chunking, stress, intonation. Yep, by Jay, exactly. Yeah, oh, that's good. I used to, exactly. Okay. If you mix up your spelling, British spelling, American spelling, it's not a big deal, but try to be, oh, thanks, JT. Try to be consistent. Okay. Couple more questions on speaking. Okay, Alpesh Kumar. I didn't practice for my last exam and I got 6. My target is 7. How to increase it? I'm just reading speaking topics from past exams. So that's a great start. Read the speaking topics, but more important is to answer them. So just grab your phone or, as Prince suggested, look at the mirror and imagine that you're in the test and practice delivering those answers. I think this is a good place to use the topic toolkits because you're not just answering questions, you're demonstrating your range of vocab, your range of grammar, and that takes some effort, that takes some concentration and some practice. So you need to think about, like today I'm going to practice these animal questions and I'm going to focus on vocab. So I want to incorporate less common vocabulary in my answers. Another time, maybe you want to focus on grammar. So you can have a list. If you join our little group classes, the teacher has a list of all this grammar, all the tenses and like conditionals, participle phrases, all of these things that you can practice as you prepare for your test. On test day, hopefully it just all magically happens for you. Okay, let's go back. Shall we move on to talk about IELTS writing? Next section here. So IELTS writing goes for 1 hour. There are 2 tasks. It's marked by an examiner. If you're preparing for general, you have to write a letter and an essay. If you're preparing for academic, you have to describe a visual, a graph, a chart, a pie chart, and write an essay. On E2, we have classes 3 times a week for task 1 and 3 times a week for task 2. And you can catch up with recorded classes too. Okay, so any questions about IELTS writing, pop them in the chat box and I'll just have a quick look on Facebook. Sorry, I'm really neglecting you guys. Okay. Oh, thank you. My lovely colleague Sands is there sharing some links. Great. Okay. Preparing for part 2 before the exam, Alma's asks, should we plan it at home? No, you can't do that. The speaking part 2 you get given on the day. You have 1 minute to prepare for it. So not long at all, actually. Just a minute to think and get ready, and then you talk for 2 minutes. So you can't prepare in advance. Okay. Jay asks, how many essay types are there in total? And will the E2 structure work for all the types of essays? Great question. So there are, I'm going to answer this in a strange way. When you look at the course materials, click on writing task 2, and you'll see overview, writing intros, writing bodies, conclusions, and then here are all the essay questions from agree, disagree, opinion, advantages, disadvantages, down to double question. These are most of the question types. However, there can be a variety of question types. So you may have a question that asks you about causes, effects, and solutions, 3 things. You may have a question like last night we had a question asking what are the reasons for something and is it a positive or negative development? So that's a double question, but it's also like a cause and opinion essay together. So I wouldn't worry, like we've organized it like this just because it's convenient, but I would not worry about what type of question I've got on test day. All you need to know are really these 3 things here: how to write an intro, how to write the 2 kinds of body paragraphs, how to write a conclusion, and then you just deal with whatever question you've got. So you look at the question and you decide, okay, I need a single idea paragraph and 2 double idea paragraphs, or I just need 2 single idea paragraphs. You build it from those blocks, those, Lego blocks. Okay, how can I describe the graph in the best way? Okay, so I'm logged in as a general student, but if you log into your academic course, click on writing task 1. There are lots of videos in there to help you. And also every Monday, Wednesday, and Saturday, there's a live class. So this week you'll practice writing about graphs. And there's a similar kind of easy strategy in that you just deal with the graph that you're given. You look at, is it showing change over time, or is it showing a snapshot? And you build your task 1 from there. Which task should we start with? Nee asks. I suggest starting with task 2 because it's worth 2/3 of your score. It's more important. And if you don't finish it, it's a bigger problem than if you don't finish task 1. So I start with task 2, but limit yourself to 40 minutes and then give yourself 20 minutes to do task 1 only. Ishita, can I write go on other days? Yes. JD, wants a video about tenses. Okay, I'll look into that. There's also grammar review, a course on E2 School that might be useful to look at tenses. So thank you. Mohammed, is there a way to have your handwritten essays marked by us? So usually our feedback is in this section, our assessments are here. Maybe send us a message at hello@e2language.com. I'm not sure if that's possible. The reason that we make it typed is because our assessment system is like built into the website. So when you submit a piece of writing, so if you click on this and write your task and click submit, then it comes through to the teachers. So we can see that you've submitted it. We mark it and give you your comments and corrections within the system. So there's no external emailing, because our marking system is built in. So it's a little bit difficult to mark outside that, but I would recommend write it by hand and then type it up into here. Oh yeah, send us an email. Guru, what are the topics to read that would pop up in writing task 2? I'm going to suggest that you look through these, the topic toolkits. Each one is a really common Ielts theme, and each one has a bunch of essay topics included. So animals, art, education, environment, all of those things that you would expect in the test. Akanshka, I get repetitive while writing. How can I fix that? We looked at this in last night's class. If you are a paid member, I'd go to recorded classes here and watch this from the 23rd of June, writing task 2. We talked about reducing repetition of vocabulary. If you're talking about repetition of ideas, that's probably more about paragraph structure, and the live classes will help with that as well. Okay, I'll take a couple more here. Okay, if the task 2 question doesn't specifically ask for our opinion, should we include our opinion? Siddharth asks. Yeah, we have this question a lot. Yeah, there is no problem including your opinion when it's not asked for. That's completely fine. So usually what we will do is put either opinion or position into the introduction. So last week or the week before, the question was, what are the advantages, discuss the advantages and disadvantages of something. So in that question, it's not asking me, are there more advantages or more disadvantages, but it is asking me, what do you think are the advantages and disadvantages? So in the intro, I would say something like, in this essay, I will discuss what I consider to be the 2 main benefits and 2 drawbacks of this situation. So the examiner wants to know what I think, not what everybody else thinks. So that's clear position. Yeah, include it in every essay. Oh, sorry, so many questions. Let me see. Kshittis, in writing part 2, I think, are we allowed to use I as a reference in giving examples that proves our point? You can use the word I think, I believe, I feel. When giving an example, yes, it's possible to say a story about yourself, but to me, that reduces the formality of your tone. So rather than say, if the essay was about studying abroad, for instance, and you were writing about the problems, like one of the problems can be homesickness. And then you want to say, for example, I felt really homesick when I studied in another country. Rather than that, I would say, for example, many international students report that they suffer from extreme homesickness, which can lead to anxiety and weight loss or weight gain. So just take it a little bit distant from yourself. But I do think it's good to use specific examples where possible. Tell me something about your country, your city, just not like me, personal story. In the conclusion, yes, you can say I believe, I think, definitely. How many examples? It's usually one example per point, but sometimes you may have an explanation rather than examples. Check out our live classes where we work on that stuff all the time. Puneet, does task 1 need a summary at the end? Academic task 1, no. It needs an overview, and that can be after the introduction or at the end. Renata, in task 2, you should put your opinion, definitely. I think, I believe, yeah, that's part of the marking criteria. But personal experience, this is where a little examiner subjectivity will come in. I and the other examiners that I know, and in general in academic writing, you don't give a personal story, but a specific example, yes, you can give that. Okay. Sorry, lots of questions. Stephanie, your writing is 6 and you keep getting 6 in speaking too. So I think that's very common to get stuck at 6 or 6.5 and just keep going again and again. I think a better option rather than just take the test over and over is get feedback. So get feedback from somebody who knows the Ielts criteria really well. Of course, I'll recommend us at E2, but if you have a friend or maybe one of your classmates as well, if someone knows a lot about Ielts and knows the difference between band 6 and band 7 according to the criteria, not according to just a feeling or an English teacher idea, according to the criteria, you need to get feedback from them. So if you're scoring 6, it's because you are meeting the criteria at band 6 and you are not meeting the criteria at band 7. So last night in class, we looked in particular at coherence and cohesion, and we went through 3 main reasons why people will score band 6 and how to improve that to band 7. So a lot of the course is built around that, how to make that jump from 6 to 7. Let me see. Okay, Kuratalaine, are the essay and speaking questions in the toolkits from Cambridge? Yeah, most of them come from past exams, so reported from students or from old Cambridge material or from our knowledge as former examiners in the topic toolkits. And your other question is, can we switch? So in the listening test, can we go to part 4 or part 3 and come back to part 1? So yeah, you can. The audio starts and the audio begins and doesn't stop. So you can move through the sections, just make sure you're in the right place at the right time. And the sample paragraph is in our group, E2 Ielts on Facebook. Diego, which one's easier, Ielts or PTE? They're both pretty challenging, and it depends a lot on the individual student, Diego. In our experience, it sort of can go both ways. Some students who struggle with PTE find success with Ielts, and some students who struggle with Ielts find success with PTE as well. If you have prepared for Ielts and you're very close to your score, I would suggest sticking with it, get some feedback and try to make that jump. But if you want to try PTE, you can make an account on E2 in our PTE course, maybe have a look at the questions and the materials and see if that works for you. Okay. I'm going to take a couple more questions. Sorry, Yam, I think I missed your question. Kshitiz, what's the best way to write an essay in the paper-based exam because we can't modify it afterwards? Most places will give you a pencil so you can erase it. Yeah, so writing with pencil is probably the best way, and plan carefully so that you don't have a huge mess on your hands. So Paulina, should we give our opinion even if not asked? I don't think you need to give a strong opinion. If it's an essay which says discuss both or what are the advantages and disadvantages, but you want to make it clear to the examiner that this is what you think about the topic. Same thing for cause and solution, right? Because that's not an opinion essay, but you are writing, this is what I think are the causes and this is what I think could solve the problem. It's just that little adjustment to your language so that when the examiner reads it, it feels like only you could have written this essay. It's not just an essay about what other people in the world think. This is an essay about what you think on this topic. I guess a good way to think of the IELTS task too, in America, when you go to college, often you have to submit an essay, like a personal opinion or a personal piece to demonstrate your writing skill. And the IELTS task 2 is kind of like that. It's a bit more of a personal opinion piece than you would normally write at university. Okay, great. Yeah, I know it's confusing. Statement of purpose. Ong, in a to what extent do you agree or disagree type question, can we partially agree or partially disagree, and if so, what's the structure? So yeah, you can. We